When people talk about secrets, they usually imagine things like hidden bank accounts, unspoken dreams, or the quiet resentments that never leave a marriage. But my secret was far different and far more dangerous. My name is Emily Parker, and for nearly a year I lived a double life that I never thought I was capable of. Looking back, it feels like I was starring in some twisted movie, except the consequences were all too real. The strangest part of my secret wasn't just the affair itself. It was how I managed to hide it, and the unlikely accomplice that helped me keep it hidden, my golden retriever, Max. I met my husband, Daniel, when I was 26. He was charming, dependable, the kind of man everyone's parents dreamed their daughter would marry. And for years, I believed I was happy. We built a quiet life together in the suburbs of Illinois. Daniel worked as an accountant, steady and predictable, while I worked as a graphic designer from home. Our world revolved around routines: dinner at 7, weekends spent doing errands, and long walks with Max in the evenings. On the outside, we looked like the picture-perfect couple, complete with the white picket fence and loyal family dog. But perfection is often a mask, and behind ours, cracks began to form. Daniel was kind, yes, but also distant. His life revolved around spreadsheets, clients, and long hours. Somewhere along the way, we stopped being lovers and became roommates. He would come home exhausted, barely talk during dinner, and retreat to his office or fall asleep in front of the TV. I tried to bring up how I felt, but every conversation ended with the same reply: "I'm tired, Emily. We'll talk later." Later never came. That's when Michael entered my life. Michael was the kind of man who made you feel like you were the only person in the room. We met at a coffee shop I often worked in when I needed a break from the house. He was a photographer, laid back and adventurous, the polar opposite of Daniel. He noticed me sketching one day, and we struck up a conversation. One conversation became two became lunch, and before I knew it, I was looking forward to his smile more than I ever anticipated Daniel's return home. At first, I told myself it was harmless, just a friendship. But late-night texts turned into secret phone calls. And then, one rainy afternoon, it turned into something more when he kissed me in the parking lot. I should have stopped it there. I should have reminded myself that I was married, that I had made vows. But the truth is, I didn't want to stop. Michael made me feel alive again. The hardest part was hiding it from Daniel. Our house wasn't big, and he was home often enough that sneaking out wasn't easy. But then I realized something. Max, our golden retriever, loved long walks. He had endless energy, and Daniel always encouraged me to take him out as much as possible. That became my excuse. Every time I wanted to see Michael, I'd clip on Max's leash, grab my sneakers, and say, "I'm taking Max for a walk." And just like that, no one questioned me. Daniel believed every word because it was routine. Max and I would leave, and instead of circling the neighborhood, I'd drive a few blocks away to meet Michael. Sometimes it was his apartment, sometimes a quiet park, sometimes even the back seat of his old Jeep. All the while, Max sat patiently in the back seat, wagging his tail, blissfully unaware that he was my alibi. For months, it worked. I'd come back home flushed and breathless, and Daniel would just smile, pat Max on the head, and thank me for keeping him exercised. If only he knew the truth. But secrets have a way of catching up to you, and mine was no different. One night, Daniel looked at me across the dinner table and said, "You've been taking Max on an awful lot of walks lately." His tone wasn't accusing, but it made my heart race. I forced a laugh and said, "He has a lot of energy. Besides, it's good for both of us." Daniel nodded, but I could tell he wasn't fully convinced. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, wondering how long I could keep balancing this fragile lie. The turning point came in the most unexpected way. One afternoon, Michael and I took Max to a hidden trail outside of town. It was secluded, the kind of place where no one would recognize us. Max ran ahead, chasing butterflies and rolling in the grass while Michael and I held hands. For a brief moment, it felt like we were a real couple, like the life I secretly wished for was within reach. But then Max bolted. A deer had darted across the path, and Max, being the playful retriever he was, took off after it. I panicked. Michael and I sprinted after him, shouting his name, but Max was too fast. After nearly 20 minutes of searching, we finally found him, covered in mud, happily wagging his tail, as if nothing had happened. When I brought him home later, Daniel noticed immediately. "What happened to him?" he asked, frowning at the dirt clinging to Max's fur. I stumbled over my words, muttering something about him finding a puddle. Daniel didn't press, but I could see the suspicion in his eyes. That was the first time I realized Max might expose me. As the weeks went on, it got harder to keep up the lies. Michael wanted more of me, more time, more commitment. He started asking, "When are you going to leave, Daniel?" And every time I had no answer. Deep down, I wasn't ready to give up the safety of my marriage, no matter how broken it felt. I was living in two worlds, and Max was the bridge between them. But bridges don't hold forever. One Saturday morning, Daniel surprised me by saying, "I'll come with you and Max today. It's been a while since we walked together." My stomach dropped. I scrambled for an excuse, but there was no way out. That morning, I had promised Michael we'd meet. Panic consumed me. I told Daniel I wasn't feeling well and begged him to take Max alone. He agreed reluctantly, but when he came back, he looked at me strangely. "Funny," he said. Max kept pulling toward the direction of town, not the park. Like he expected to go somewhere else. My heart nearly stopped. Dogs don't lie. And Max, without meaning to, was starting to reveal mine.